Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this session. I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Stephanie Hu, and I'm the founder of A Gracious Life, offering holistic wellness guidance. I run wellness retreats, offer corporate wellness consulting, and create well-being programs for global companies. And as a practitioner, I personalize my services to every individual, where I encompass nutritional guidance, restorative body work, Qigong exercises, clinical aromatherapy, and other lifestyle enhancements. So in a nutshell, I inspire clients to discover their vitality using natural and holistic modalities, because it was for this very reason, in my own personal health journey, that inspired me to seek complementary practices for the challenges I was facing. And hence here we are today on today's topic about Bioqr Therapy. So I discovered Bioqr Therapy 7 years ago through Ivan, and I studied the Module A training, and a year later took Module B training as well. So you'll get to learn more about what biotherapy is when I introduce Ivan. He is the founder of Biotherapy Asia. He has over 18 years of professional practices, treating over 18,000 people worldwide with various medical conditions. He's also conducted over 200 lectures at various organizations and institutions, as well as training over 350 students to be Bioqr therapists, including myself. So I'd like to welcome Ivan.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
So today's topic, we're going to delve in to find out what is Bioqr therapy, what are the techniques, how is it performed, what it can be used for. So before we go into those sections, I would like to ask you, what is the human bioenergy therapy, and how does that relate to the immune system?
This is a how to say, very old question, I would say. What actually heals us, and especially in the traditional methods. We always wanted to know how that works, because it's here with us for thousands of years, and some of these methodologies stay with us. They change their form, they change their perspective, but still they are here with us. And I was always impressed by this idea that the human-to-human interaction can do something for the well-being of a person. That's amazing. Of course, just by being living in a community, we don't live for ourselves, we live for others, right? But when we talk about this human-to-human interaction, I refer to the therapeutic methods that are essentially using only the body of the therapist to introduce healing in the body and the mind of a patient. And that's obviously the oldest kind of medicine. Before we invented medicine, before we probably even look into the herbal medicine, the only thing that was there for us naturally was this human-to-human interaction. It can be a simple touch, it can be a gesture. And then, of course, from that, it can progress to something a little bit more profound. So as we develop through the history, we discovered some elements of reality which are now a little bit more clearer, and which are giving us clues how these unusual methodologies that we, how to say, inherited from our ancestors, how they are actually working. So my personal interest was always in, not always, but I had a huge interest in invisible worlds. Let's call it that way. This is what drew me actually into the world of physics.
Worlds, yeah.
Yeah, and of course there is always this philosophical aspect of the metaphysical aspect, but there is actually a physical aspect of it, which I was very interested, because we can measure it and we can predict the future by it. So the science is all about how far we can predict the future and how deep we can understand the reality we all share to increase our to make our lives better, essentially. So one of these methods was also the idea that somebody can just touch the person or do something around the person by movements of the hands.
Manipulating the energy, really.
Articulating, let's say that we even don't know what is energy, that it's like 2,000 years ago, or I don't know, 5,000 years ago. So the modern concept of energy is old, maybe 250 years. When we say that the only energy is the capacity to do the work, right? Before, we didn't know what it is. So we give it different names. We give it different characteristics. And since you know how the brain works, when there is not enough information, the brain will try to create some information from the patterns that we had at that time that we call knowledge. Pattern is a knowledge. And of course, in the modern science, if you look at this, what we call energy healing, if you want to boil it down to what is measurable or what is tangible, we can boil down all the energy healing from any methodology into a very simple fact. There is a body of a therapist in interaction with the body of a patient. And then if you look at this invisible part, because our body is visible due to our, how our perception developed, there is this invisible part. And if I want to look in this invisible part, and if I want to deduct or remove all the folklore, which means traditional thinking, I have to go into the physics. There is no other way to explain it. And then when you look at the physical realm, the only thing that can be in interaction is the electromagnetic field or the electrical fields of the patient and the therapist. So I boil it down to that. And I know this is something that is very hard to accept because we connect electromagnetism with the machines, right? We have this inner feeling like, oh, this is so mechanical, it's so machine. And I don't like it because of that. I'm much more than that. I agree. We are much more than that. There is much more. We can talk about it later. But our world is literally possible only because of the electromagnetism. So there is no interaction of the atoms and molecules into the greater forms that we call biological systems without the electromagnetism. And if you boil it down to that, we essentially have a human body which is producing naturally, indigenously, producing the electromagnetic fields, which are very tiny, but they are impactful, and they create certain biological effect in the body. You want it or you don't want it. So it's not intentional. For example, if I sit next to somebody, just by the physical laws, there is exchange of the energy. There is even exchange of the information. The cells are communicating. And my only problem with all of that was how the hell is possible that these very tiny energies, which are very, very, very low in intensity, how they can affect anything, right? And of course, you go into the literature and you found that chemical reactions, especially biochemical reaction, because they are actually under the little bit different physical laws, because we are talking about the living organism, so it's a little bit different. I don't say that we break the physics, not at all, but complexity of the system gives a little bit different response to the electromagnetic radiation from outside. It's obvious that the small energies can change the response of the cell, the functioning of the cell, then the tissue, and then the organs, and then the whole organism, because your cells are communicating anyway with the tiny, tiny, tiny energies. They are not communicating with high voltages. They are very, very low voltages, very, very low fields. And as so, it's quite obvious that we have to use very low energy fields to fool the body to respond as we want. So this is where I'm coming from. Is it hard? Is it easy to understand? No, I don't think so. It's easy to understand because most of the people are not aware of the modern aspects of biology that we are discovering last, let's say, 50, 60 years, that in detail last 10 years. But all this is something that is modern medicine and modern biology is taking into account when we are thinking about the modern approach to therapeutics.
Okay. Yeah, that's a handful. So it is essentially our human bioenergy.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
The immune therapy. Yeah. So yes. I know you've mentioned before, it's about biohacking, the immune systems to interact with our human bioenergy field.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at all of the medicine is just a trickery, because everything in nature wants to kill you. This is not uncommon thinking. Yeah, everything in nature wants to inhabit you and kill you. Okay. But there are also good things in nature. Nature wants to nurture you as well, right? So there is a balance in between these two. And this balance is maintained by the immune system. And this balance is called homeostasis. Mm-hmm. So our body is constantly under the danger and threat of dying and is constantly healed. So in case, if this balance is broken, there is also metabolic background, there is energetic background to it, so on and so on. If this balance is broken, if homeostasis is broken, then you have immune system, it's kicking in and it's healing you. It's healing in many different ways, from sensing the problem to changing and adjusting the physiological function of the organs so that you can endure a longer period of time. If you are in pain, it started to produce more dopamine, which will essentially drug you so that you don't have, that you can endure the pain, so on and so on. We have all this mechanism inside of us. This is a survival mechanism. So what is the medicine? Medicine is when we take in our hands this survival mechanism and we direct it where we want, not where the evolution wants, but where we want. And it's a trick. You have to trick the body to think a little bit different. So essentially, what's medicine? Medicine is a trickery which is fooling the immune system to do the healing. Mm-hmm. And second thing, this is very important to understand, that once we direct the evolution to another path, it's a huge responsibility because we are changing the evolution of the whole civilization. Look what happened with the modern medicine. We enhanced the longevity, and that changed completely the evolutionary path.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Yeah. So in regards to that, it being a technique and it is a technology.
It's a tech, yeah.
So can you explain the specific techniques that are used in Bioqr therapy, like a little bit more details? And what are some of the common reactions during and after therapy that patients might be able to expect?
How to say, when we go into the techniques, it essentially boils down to first how the therapy works, how the energetics in a modern physical way works, and then how we can apply it, how we can leverage from physics and physical laws to bring the well-being to the person or to cure the person. Okay, so the first thing is that our body is producing and using all the time something that is called bioelectrical signaling or bioelectricity. Bioelectricity is a electrical current which is produced for many different functions, from the communicational function to it's also used as a force to push the blood. It creates it's behind the thoughts, and all of it depends on the bioelectric networks. Yeah. So what we had in a TCM, or what we had in Ayurvedic medicine, where they were talking about the network of something that we like to call the meridians, although they don't respond to the modern bioelectric networks. They didn't know, they knew just a little bit. We can say there is a similarities in between these two concepts. I don't want to claim 100%, but as an open thinker, I can say, yes, there is a similarity. So these networks are regulating from the expression of the genes to functioning of the whole body. So the modification of these networks can lead to the changes in the physiology and the working of the cell. What does it mean? It means that if I change the electricity of this network on a level of the material that we call tissue, I can actually bring more or less attention of the immune system. So how it works? When the immune system will kick in, they said that the old thesis is from the 40s that the immune system is self, non-self based, which means that the immune system see the pathogen which doesn't have human DNA. This is when it will kick in. But this is not true, because 50% of you which is a new knowledge, is a microbiome. And microbiome doesn't have your DNA. So by that logic, I should be attacked by the immune system all the time, but I'm not. Actually, immune system is cooperative even with the pathogens, viruses and bacteria, and so on and so on. So when the immune system is kicking in, immune system is kicking in only if there is a damage of the tissue. when the damaged tissue sends the signaling. It can be electrical signaling. For example, when you damage the cell starts to produce electricity. Also, the debris, the genetical material will be expressed outside of the cell, so the immune system can pick it up and understand there is a damage, right? It will organize defenses in a form of the inflammation and so on, right? So the immune system is actually danger-based, which means if there is a damage of the homeostasis, it will kick in. And this is what we use for healing. Why? Because same as vaccination. Vaccination is the perfect example how it works. And then I can explain in case of acupuncture, acupressure, even the yoga practices, all this is based on the same modeling. So you have to damage a little bit body so that the immune system can kick in.
It's like a fever. It's like the body's response.
It responds. So, for example, in case of vaccination, what do? You introduce a toxin, mainly heavy metal in a very small quantity, and just next to it is also a particle or the spike or the protein or the parts of the bacteria or the weakened virus. And then the immune system, because there is intoxication, goes to that location to solve this problem. But then it found, oh, look, there is something else there, and it picks up the information from that, store it, and creates the defenses for the future attack. This is how therapy works. What acupuncture is doing? You're damaging the body, so you have a response. If you damage the body close to the nerve, then the electrical activity of the damaged cells will introduce the information to the nerve. And which nerves? The interoception nerves. We have abundance of nerves which are actually sensing the changes, biochemical changes, and sending this information back to the brain, which is reorganizing the defenses. Acupressure, the same. When you pressurize the tissue, what you are doing, you are actually producing also electrical current through the piezoelectric phenomena of the certain kind of the proteins which are sensitive to the stress. So when the piezoelectric phenomena in physics, when you have a material that you pressurize or stress and it starts to produce the electricity. It's the same phenomena. So you are damaging actually the cell, and the cell is responding. Yoga, you are damaging all the time. You're stretching, you're putting yourself in a completely unusual positions that humans will not do, except in case if they are hunters, but that was 25,000 years ago. So we need it now actually to do what is natural in us. You do all this unusual stretching and unusual conditioning of the body to damage it. But you always do these treatments that are damaging the body to that extent that it's not dangerous. This is why it's called, everything we do, it's a non-invasive. And this is the future of medicine, to have a non-invasive approach. So just to explain the difference in between allopathic medicine and what we call non-invasive medicine. Allopathic medicine is saving your life. And allopathic medicine never claimed. Lately, they start to talk about it because now they start to develop immune therapies. They pick up from traditional medicine and they want to do the same processing, right? But essentially, modern medicine, orthodox medicine, is a military operation to protect the nation from the collapse on the medical level. That's it. This is public health thing. This is not medical science. Medical science knows much, 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 much more. But in between the medical science and the public health is politics, economy, bribery, all the human qualities, right? So this is why I would never accuse modern medicine to be bad or anything like this. No, we are doing the best we can in a current condition of a human beings. And this is where the rise of the consciousness plays has its role. So if we can rise the consciousness, then we can see healing and all these practices in a completely different way. But that means the change of the political systems, change of the economical systems, social systems, and so on, so on. So actually, you see how deep we can go to understand very simple thing like something that we call Bioqr Therapy, where essentially you will learn how to fool the body to produce certain effect, which we call the healing.
And responses, for the body to do its thing. And, our body has an incredible innate wisdom to heal.
Yes, intelligence.
Yes, and this is what I personally witnessed as well, and had just discoveries of self-healing and self-regeneration. And I always believe that the body has the intelligence to heal if we give it the right platform.
Exactly. If you give it a space to do so.
Exactly.
There is one interesting thing, if I can just jump a little bit with negativity, because I think negativity is very important to understand positivity. In,
The yin and the yang.
I mean, you
On
have
this
to have
side
this
of-
because, if we put a lot of, how to say, attention to only one place, we can lose everything else. They said you hit the target, but you miss everything else. It's very important to understand that the idea of being healed as a separate entity from all of the reality is actually illusion. Because we live together, we belong to the planetary ecological system and the biological system. So we are just tiny little part of it. This system is run by the mechanism that we call evolution. We know how evolution works. There is a lot of things to add to that. Evolution is also something that has a political background, a lot. So we are changing this a little bit. And we are getting to the point to understand that sometimes in healing, sometimes evolution and the medical condition is actually the same thing. It's just the part of it. Which means that sometimes whatever we do to get well, we can still get sick because we don't have full control. We will never have full control. Nor I expect that we will have a world of a completely healthy people, because that everybody is healthy all the time, because we cannot develop. There is no challenge anymore, and we are simply animals who likes challenge. Our DNA likes challenge. This is how it works. This is how. Yeah, and so what I want to say is that we should think about healing as a communal thing. It's something that improves not just person, but the family, community, and however we see the family, however we see the community. But we are never healed alone. We are always healed in a community, or repaired in a community. And so this is very interesting aspect, because many times we are very egoistical when it gets to healing. We just think about how I'm going to get healed and get better. It's okay, actually, because if you're on lots of suffering, lots of pain, and you know how society is. Society thinks about how to say, ill people in a very different ways, culturally, so on. So it can be damaging for the person who is sick, so on. But still, in that position, we have to understand that our disease has something to do with the community as well. We are not alone in that. There is no personal guilt, there is no community guilt. It's simple like that, right? And so what we can learn from it, I had this situation in my life when I was sick. And then, when you go through that, I had a dengue fever recently. I did a video about, because my experience was amazing. And when I went through that, when I get better, I start to understand once again, this is why it's good to be sick, the value of health. The value of health is, we forget about it. You can be super rich and have everything. If you get sick, you got nothing.
Health as well.
Yeah, health is like everything. But on the other hand, I know people who are sick, they don't care. Why? Because if the sickness is aligned with our interest, we are not sick. It's strange. I know it sounds strange, but you have people like this. And also,
sometimes it's their identity.
It's identity, yeah. And they don't care. They have different criteria also. Some people get a little bit sick, they are completely sick whole life. And then very interesting point is that you have people, when we talk about the community, morals, ethics, and so on, it's not directly connected with the health. You can be a moral person and live very long and good life. You can eat super bad food and have longevity, no any disease. I mean, look at the Warren Buffett, for example, hamburgers and Coke. And then you have people who are completely involved into the self, giving to themselves, indulging in all the beautiful food and nature and everything, no stress, so on, and they get sick. There is, you know what I'm talking about. This is something to look at. I was always interested in this phenomena, in this paradox. And this is where the group session comes in place, because we are doing treatments in groups. And this is actually, group is a little community, and it allows people to because when we are in the group, we join the mind. So there is this group mind, which is much easier to work psychologically than when you have person one-on-one.
And there's a scientific term for this.
There is, yeah. There is a
collective consciousness.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, actually, you know what? There is no consciousness without collective. Let me explain. There are many beliefs and there are many ideas about what consciousness is. I don't think that we will ever know, nor I think it's important, because everything I read and everything I did in my life, from psychedelics to meditation to whatever, that never changed things for me, for good or bad. You know what I mean? Everything always stayed the same. Maybe perspective can change a little bit. You have experiences you can share, you can rely to that. Okay, but that never changed actually in my life. Still, you have to do all the things that are necessary for you to survive, right? So I would say that the consciousness is tightly connected with one product of the brain, right? People don't like that. People want to say, no, we are a soul and we have a consciousness which is not ours, which is just going and streaming through us, blah, blah. It's okay, that's fine. And by some logic, it's really true, because to produce the brain, you need the whole cosmos. And to have this consciousness as we have it now, it will not happen if I'm the only person in the world. It will never happen. So this consciousness is possible only through all the ancestral communities we had last millions of years. And you know what? It's impossible to have it. So there is no single self being. No. There is only unity. There is no
There's separation. There's been studies done, where the monkeys were taught doing a certain way, and they, a group of another monkeys from another part of the world.
Yeah, I know that research. Yeah.
Just knew what to do.
Yeah, this is they call, like, there is this transference of information. This research was a little bit how to say. There are some gaps in this research, but I agree to the certain point that whenever something develops in one side of the planet, it will develop also on another side, because the evolutionary mechanism is the same and the progress is almost the same. Although we have also opposite. You have a decline in the genetic, path, and this is actually what differentiates us from the primates. So we don't. So monkeys are not our mutual ancestor. They are actually just the different evolutionary path. Our ancestors are primates or pre-humans, right? Or the primates. Yeah. So we are coming from the same source, but there was this separation of there was a branching in the genetic pool, in the genetic, the frequency of the certain changes goes in this way or that way. This is what we call evolution. And I would say that yes, the world is completely interconnected. There is a science of it. There is a lots of new scientific understanding of it. We cannot deny this. It's unusual. We don't want it. It's counterintuitive. But I'm sorry, it's here. And we can say like it's all bullshit. And I would say that yes, it is. If it's not evidence, if there is no evidence about it, if there is no big corpus of research, and if we don't establish certain kind of language around it that can help us to actually use it. Otherwise, it's just the science for science. Science for science is useless. Maybe not now, maybe in the future, somebody can take some part of the science for science and then make it useful. We had many examples in history like that. But what I want to say that in my personal case, and I really like it that way because I feel much more safe, secure, and it's very healthy, is to really understand how things works so that we can benefit from that, in a sense that if we don't understand the mechanisms, we cannot upgrade it. Yeah. If you don't know how the car works, you cannot upgrade it. So you have to first learn, okay, they build this car that way and I can enhance it in this particular way. So when you ask me about, just to go back, I'm sorry for my digressions, when you ask me about the methodology is super simple. The methodology is like this. If I want to invite the immune system to the certain part of the body, let's say here, what I have to do, I have to damage it. I have to give this information that there is a damage. So I can do it in many different ways. But in our particular ways, I can change the electricity of the certain kind of tissue with the different techniques. This is why the different techniques come in place, because every tissue responds differently to the external stimulation. This is why you have techniques. And when you do these funny movements like this and this and this, whatever it is, that will change the electrical activity, which means indirectly metabolism of the certain tissue or the cells or the organ, the whole organ in this area. And once you do that, you send the information to the immune system, there is a damage, and then the immune system goes there. So it's not me healing, it's not me sending the positive energy or whatever. It's just to fool the body, create a disturbance so that the body can actually respond to it, and then eventually
of it too, yes.
Yeah, and eventually heal. In modern medicine, we have a lot of application of the electromagnetic field. So the question is, why not just make a machines? Very simple. Human body, you know that there are two different types of radiation, polarized, non-polarized. And there is also the coherent and non-coherent fields. I will not go into the physics of it, but the technical radiation is highly coherent and it's polarized, right? And the biological is non-polarized, but it's much of a higher level of coherence, right? So you cannot easily access dynamic changes with the machines. It's impossible. Essentially, I should have a feedback from a person and then apply this to the machine in a real time. We don't have this tech, we will have it in the future. Now we don't have it. So why I can easily access your tissue, you can access also other people's tissue. I'll give you a simple example. Now we are online, so it's a little bit different, but imagine that we are just, actually doesn't matter, even if it's online, doesn't matter.
Because you like distant therapies, and this is...
Yeah, but actually, we can talk about it later, but I just wanted to say that in case now when we are communicating, actually our consciousness has the same form, has the same frequency, I would say. Our minds now receive the information through the hearing and all that, and they're actually processing the information on the same level, which means that my vibrational state, which cannot be changed, this is also another misconception, my vibrational state, the material that constitutes the mind, the consciousness, and the life, vibrates in a completely same way as yours. Which means that I'm automatically aligned with another living organism, automatically. Which means there is no need for any alignment. The dynamism, these changes, they're automatically aligned, they are automatically leveled. And only due to that, we have a connection which is called resonance in physics. And there is no transfer of energy without resonance, right? So only due to that, we can much easier and much faster do the therapy because it's a coherent resonance system to the same coherent resonance system, which are dynamic. So they're changing all the time, but I don't have to think about it because it's automatic process.
That's true. Well, then now, we're talking about like the techniques and group treatments and, these, physical gestures. Would you like to give us a glimpse of how this therapy is conducted?
Yes.
Especially in a group setting. That's what we...
I can share a little bit of screen. I don't know. Can you see it now? So this is our website where we try to. So this is hypothesis. We didn't do the clinical research, but for sure from the study of other people in the realm of biophysics, we know for sure that the elements that we know now can actually give us the clues how this works. There is a lot of unknowns, but I must say one thing, this therapy is measurable. This therapy has a measurable result and also measurable tools, so I can measure the tools. So here... And
you do have them. You do have these tools, and you also provide a lot of scientific evidence and studies and research that you've done, over many years.
There is actually, if you look on the databases, internet databases of the reputable journals around the world, there is lots of research of this phenomena, direct and indirect. Many people wanted to prove that they are right in this and that methodology. That's fine. These papers are not that good. I would say that 10% of these papers, are useful. But there is indirect research where people were not researching energy healing or traditional methods, alternative medicine, whatever. They were just researching the phenomena, for example, of electromagnetism and the biology. This is where I was actually looking, and this is where you can find the clues how this should work and how this works. So here is a very, very simple, explanation of how it works. It's available on our website. So, for example, here we shoot the treatment itself with the infrared camera. So infrared camera is essentially a camera which can capture the electromagnetic radiation in the spectrum of what we like to call heat or infrared.
Yeah.
So this is just how to say, it just represents one very simple fact that our reality is not limited to what we can perceive. We are swimming in the sea of the electromagnetic frequencies, of the electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic fields from the Earth to the cosmic radiation, which is hitting us all the time. We're just not aware of it because we don't need it for survival. No, we develop our senses so that we can survive, essentially.
Yeah.
So when you look at this, you can see clearly how it works on this, in this frequency range and on this frequency level. This is unfortunately with the clothes. So to really show what is happening, you have to take off the clothes, and we did this kind of research. This is how we get to the procedures itself. So this is something you can take. People can watch it online.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it there. It's interesting. Here is explanation what are the action potentials. I spoke about the model and what is the healing process, what is the bioelectricity. So just to explain that we use bioelectrical neural and non-neural activity to produce the electromagnetic fields. Yeah. So the easiest way to produce electromagnetic field of a certain potential is with the muscle tension. So we also did a lot of tests. Can the mind change this? Mind cannot change this. This is a misconception because all the body is working on the level or on a subconscious level. I'll give you examples. Do I need to think when, do I have to believe or think to be alive? No. Do I need to think how I'm going to digest food? No, it's just automatic. When I'm sleeping, so I'm not conscious, do I have to think how to breathe? No, it's automatic. So all of the body functioning, we can also talk about the how to say, mental activity. I think it's all automatic. It's just happening automatically, right? So
same thing with this, like you don't have to believe it's working, but it just does.
It just does, exactly. For example, I have people coming who are in this field of hypnotherapy and so on, which is very powerful tool. I love it. The suggestion is super powerful. You have to be very careful with that. It's not something, it's not something you do if you're not an expert. And, they said like it's all about the mind. You set the mind and the energy goes out. No, it's not true. Because, how to say, try to understand that your mind is a product of the brain activity. We can go further, but let's limit just to that. We can go into the philosophy, but it's a different story. So it's a product of the brain activity and interaction of the different brains, right? But without the body, the mind doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a hardware, and the brain needs the body to feed it and to maintain it and to do the tasks that the brain wants to do for survival and other stuff, fun and so on. Reproduction, who knows what the brain needs, all of it, right? So when you look at this closely, why would the evolution give a capacity to brain to change the metabolic functioning when that indirectly can damage the brain? So there is a limitation. And this limitation is very easy to understand if you really start to dig deep. I'll give you one example. And I always ask my friends who are in hypnotherapy who claim that this is all just the mind. If I believe that I cannot get 10, I said this in my video about it, right? And you go out on the sun, whatever you believe or you hypnotize yourself, you will still get a 10 because it's automatic response so that there is no damage of the tissue, right? It's super easy. And everything is like this. Absolutely everything is like this. So you can put a belief into certain things and have certain result. Mm-hmm. But this is another matter, and this is something I talk about in details in Module B, how it works, how to use it in daily life, and what it is. I'll give you just one clue. Whatever your body experience on a subconscious level, and it's connected with the emotional state or the event, you can recall it by visualization. If you don't have this experience, you cannot recall it. Body cannot create it. It's also possible that we inherited from our parents or the ancestors some of these phenomena so we can recall it automatically, right? This is how it works.
Like
So when we
maestros and like, you know, these amazing like artists and even like musicians like at age 4.
Yeah,
Sort of
yeah.
something like that. It's just that recall.
Yeah, they simply have the knowledge. This is their AI, their network works simple like that because it's built up for that. So when we talk about directing the energy, you can direct very easily energy by the muscle tension and relaxation. Essentially, when you tense the muscle, this is what's happening. So I don't have to think. No, I don't think anything to do it, right? So there is no mind involvement in energy healing. There is not even the state of the being involved in the energy healing. It's not important. When I'm doing treatments, I talk with my patients about politics, economy, history, some fun, you know. It doesn't even have to be too nice or aligned with what people think like healing atmosphere. We can make jokes and I can treat severe diseases without putting my mind into it.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful because I'm free. I'm completely free. So when you look at what is happening when you tense or relax the hand, first, by the electrochemical reactions, you create in the upper motor neuron the electrical signaling, which is transferred through the exchange of the ions, on the membrane of the nerve. But it's also happening in any other tissue. In every cell it's happening. So this is a neural phenomenon, right? And it's sent through the spine into the arm. When it comes into the arm, then it's into the hand, then it's transferred through the neurotransmitters into another electrical signaling that propagates through the muscle. And this propagation, we can see it clearly. You have research about, you have many papers about it. I just choose this one. This is the first one, the one of the oldest one. This propagation causes the magnetic field, which is actually the active principle. And it's very tiny, but it goes away from the body. So the people say, how far it goes? My answer to that is very simple. If I have a guy trying to cross the American border, Mexican-American border, and I have a satellite which is thousands of miles, I can see his energy field, which is actually heat. So this is how far it goes. You know, it goes all the way to the hundreds of miles, right? So, you know, any idea, people sometimes, they simply don't want to accept this, that our energy field is huge, is humongous. It just goes all over the place.
Yeah. Like there's even like heart math that actually pretty much calculates this, like you can actually see it.
You can, yeah, and we use it in medicine with a Squid Apparatus, which is a quantum-based measurement tool built in the 1960s. We can actually measure the biomagnetic field. We can actually measure now with the TDK produced a machine that can capture the biomagnetism of the whole body in a room temperature without isolating the room from the electromagnetic radiation from outside. It's still not out because they are developing the software for that. But MRI...
About just now, like how, you know, why don't you create a machine, you know, to make this, like to actually do the therapy? And you said, well, right now it's our humans, like it's human to human. But
yeah, it's
having said that, like our bodies are an incredible machine.
Yeah, it's an incredible machine.
So we're using our body as this smart, intelligent machine to actually, you know, conduct this therapy, which is incredible.
This is beautiful because you don't have to take the widget with you, gadgets with you. So you know what I mean? Essentially, you just take a little bit sugar and you have a gadget here. That's it. That's all you need. Anywhere you go. That's for me, it's beautiful. So to get back to that, you know, we can actually record this, we can record and show what a certain procedure is doing. This will now run, not from the beginning because I ran it before, but here we can see if we measure the EMG with the EMG device, we can essentially see the patterns that we are producing by the movements. So once I did that, when I saw these patterns, I said, oh, okay, it's clear now what it is. So if I align these patterns with the response, metabolic response of the tissue, we have a method. That's it. Super easy. And if you look at all these movements, and you know, it's counterintuitive because the movements, they have a meaning for us. So we want to think of it as a communicational information, but there is no any meaning behind these movements. The only meaning is actually physical, just pure physical impact on the tissue. That's all. So as you can see, we can connect the muscles to the measurement and tools, and then just simply make it visible, and we can hear it. It's called sonification. We can go once again through this video from the beginning, just to show a little bit more. So this is the EMG device. It's a DIY EMG device. It's like $200 device. Today it's very cheap. So you just connect the 2 points of measurement. The third point is grounding. This is just to pick up the noise so that the software can reduce the action potential from the noise of the body. And then we just recorded it. And what you hear is the sonification. So we put it into the sound, right?
Yeah.
So it's clear that there is activity, there is electrical activity.
Yes. And you can physically see it.
You can physically see it, and you can exactly know what you are doing.
So then you might explain, while we're on this topic of these treatments and movements, what do people feel like? Because people want to know, is this is my energy being manipulated? Am I going to feel certain things? What's going to happen? So, would you be able to share, what are some common experiences that people could feel during the therapy?
Yes, actually, this is a very good question, because there is also misconceptions. You see that I like misconceptions, not because that give me the power, but my experience was at the very beginning was very, very different than what people were thinking. Then I go just deep into it. Of course, again, science and literature. So what is actually happening? I'll ask you a few things. Can you feel when you take the antibiotic?
No.
No, and it will work. Or any other procedure. But sometimes somebody will take the antibiotic and die of the reaction, anaphylactic shock, right? Or you know what I'm talking about. Same is with vaccination. You have 3 cases. One case, you give vaccine, nothing, it works. Second, you give the vaccine, the person has a very strong reaction, still it works. Then you have third one, you give a vaccine, and the person dies. And also you have a fourth one, when you have a vaccine with any of these possible reactions, then the vaccine doesn't work, or the vaccine is damaging. Yeah. So you understand, and of course it's all statistical. So we decided it's good, it works, because statistically not many people will actually be damaged if there is no precondition. Of course, I will not talk about COVID and all this. This is another subject. I'm talking generally about vaccines. So when you look at this perspective, the patient don't have to feel anything. The patient essentially have a reaction. We cannot feel these fields. We don't have sensors, because if you have sensor to feel the energy fields of others and everything around you, your brain cannot process this. So we have limited perception so that our brain can process it, and it will process it to that extent that it's useful for survival. This is very important to understand. Is there any other sense beyond what we have? Yeah, there are other senses, right? But they are in the realm of the senses that we already have, just a little bit extended, or the biggest sense is actually the brain itself, the mind itself, because what I know about it is that the evolution in our case decided, although there is no person behind, just for the sake of the communication, that it will not run the tests for the millions of years of development to get to the point where we are now, but it will push into the direction to produce the organ which can simulate all this, to overcome the burden of the long-term experimentation. So actually the mind is a survival evolutionary mechanism. It's a product of the evolutionary survival mechanism, and science and art and culture is just a product of it. So it's also a survival mechanism. So I don't have to develop a telescope to see deep space. I use the science to create the telescope to look at the deep space. That's a big difference. Much faster, much easier. Okay, so I would say that we cannot feel this field. You feel the reaction of your body. So some people will say, I want to test the therapy. There is no test beyond the biomedical test. Because if you want to test by feeling it, there is nothing to test. You know what I mean? You cannot feel it. Although some people, I will just do 2 movements, they will collapse because their blood pressure will change because they have some kind of problem with that. You know what I mean? So it's actually a response, physiological response to the treatment itself, not really the sense of the energy field.
Yeah. I mean, like having said that, with just now we're talking about the mind and the brain, and essentially, like we're only using 2%.
Oh, the brain. There is this. I mean, there is this. I would say story around it. I would say that some people use only 2%. You know what I mean? Look, our brain is working at the back. Everything you do. Yeah. Our brain is picking
like we're only tapping. They're saying like we're only tapping to this tiny potential right now.
What you need. Yeah, there is at the back, there is the whole factory. It's crazy what's happening there. But if you can you imagine if you have to do all of this consciously, you will not have time for anything else. How many times you caught yourself? I catch myself in that many times. You drive the motorbike or the car, you come to A to B, you don't have any idea how I get this. Some people say this is very dangerous. I said, no, it's not dangerous at all, because this is run by my brain so precisely that I can give it control 100%. And then my brain was visualizing doing other stuff. I like to think about creativity when I'm driving, because driving has this liberation from the body movement, but you are moving. So there is this repetition of the environment, which is essentially meditative practice. And then that triggers the separation of the body oriented control from the thinking. So essentially it's out of body experience. You can drive and being out of your body. So the body controls itself, listens to everything, the other cars, everything, and I'm not thinking about it. And how many times I caught myself in doing things and having a full solution instantly. But before that, there was years of work or months of work, which you cannot get to the point understanding.
Happens spontaneously.
Spontaneously. This is intuition. So the intuition is not when we connect to some other source and then we are given the information. Intuition is when we fill the database with a lot of experience and all sorts of things, and then the brain makes a sense out of it. More information, more precise solution.
Sometimes I feel like, with intuition, like when you give that space, exactly like when you're just free enough, like you're saying, you drive, like you have that space. And sometimes like with that space comes like these ideas, like you're saying, it just happens.
Yeah, it just happens.
It just happens when you give that space.
It's the same as AI, modern AI. Modern AI is just the very simplified version of the brain. The artificial intelligence networks are just like the brain, but simplified.
So now with the therapies, going back to that,
okay,
they're very specific. The very specific structure of how the therapies are done. So can you explain how they're done, how they're conducted, and the repetition, the amount of times of what one would expect? Because this is very precise.
Yeah, so the therapy itself follows also the rules of how the body works. So the therapy itself, I mentioned there are these techniques. They are actually just they produce different patterning on the different locations of the body, so on and so on. And they're actually aligned with the, I would say, bioenergetics or metabolic background of the disease, right? So what you're actually doing, you're doing opposite what the body or what the immune response already is. So if you have High potential condition, this is mainly when we have organ tissue dysfunction, inflammation, high circulation of anything, electricity, liquids, doesn't matter, or deposit of the chemical substances, or any kind of high metabolic activity, we will do the decreasing function. Why? Because we have to do opposite, so that we have a new, so we reset the immune response. And then you have on the lower scale, you have low potential conditions. So you have medical condition, pathology, and you just look at it metabolically. And then you have organ or tissue dysfunction, ischemias, this is low blood circulation or low circulation generally, or low metabolic activity. This is when you have a damage of the organ, I don't know, renal dysfunction, so on. And then you increase the potential. So you add a little bit there. So to have attention to reset the immune response. So this therapy is always conducted in 4-day sessions. 4-day session is not a magical number. It's just the number where we have the optimum result in the most of the cases, right? Which means that maybe some people will have immediate response after 4 sessions. And then some people will need to come 1 more time, 2 more times. Some people, they come every month for years. I have this also. With the genetic disorder, you cannot reverse them. You can only maintain them.
Maintain it.
Yeah, you can only maintain the symptom. So how it works? You do the 4 sessions, right? Here we are. You do the 4 sessions. This is this external bioenergy stimulation, right? And then you change this artificial temporary change of homeostasis. It's essentially a trick, as I mentioned before. And then you have immune response to that. It's like a non-invasive vaccination. And after that, you have a period of time of 3 to 4 weeks when the immune system actually responds to it.
Yeah.
Right? So why you need long time? Why there is no instant healing? I know many people claim there was instant relief. No, there is no such thing. Why? Your body is actually a very complicated energetic system. And to give the energy to the immune system and to the reparatory function of the body, you cannot just draw and then send it there. If you have a big company, you will never do that. You need to organize everything, arrange the environment for that. This is why people have something that we call healing crisis. This is arrangement of the environment and the response, which changes the physiology of the body. Also, it can produce mental states. So the treatment itself can make you very depressed. If the immune says, I need all the energy that you use for the thinking, so I'm going to make you depressed so you can lay down at home in depression for 3 days that I have enough energy. Some people will be put not after our therapy, but biologically. If you need a lot of energy to heal, or if there is a high energy potential condition in the brain, the body, the immune system will trigger coma. This is the function of coma. Coma is good, because the coma actually puts you in a state where there is which is lowering the energy potential used by the brain, so that all this energy can go into the immune response. Very clever. And then of course, it takes time so that the body rearrange all this, because if it's done quickly, you will die. You will essentially die, right? So after 3 to 4 weeks, you have a response. For soft tissue, 3 to 4 weeks, connective tissue, bone structure, nerves, it takes a little bit longer. It takes maybe 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, even 2 months.
Yeah.
And then you can repeat it, dependable of the tests, of the diagnostics, or you simply finish the treatment and then the patient have to do everything else, like maintenance, good supportive treatments, changing the lifestyle. You know how it goes. There is a lots of things.
Everything. Yeah. So that's why, it's always good, with this sort of treatments, come with some sort of diagnosis.
Yeah.
Medical report. So something tangible that they can compare with, so that, after the therapy, they can redo whatever tests, scans, blood tests that they need, so that they can also have something to reference with. So this is,
Exactly. Yeah. And, how to say, we are not doctors, and the way how we conduct therapy, it's very, I would say, it's very strict in a sense that we have to protect patient first, and we have to protect ourselves. So we don't diagnose. Yes. And I would not suggest anybody who don't have a license to diagnose. Even doctors cannot diagnose outside of the institution. It's illegal. And it's not good. Any subjective diagnosis, I mean, it sounds super cool. Like, look, I will tell you what it is from some psychic, whatever. But, what if you make a mistake? What will happen then? So when you use machines and when you have a good doctor, not all doctors are good, just like in any profession, not all healers are good, then you have a tangible, objective result, which is legal. And from there, this is how we actually work. We read the diagnostics. Upon that, we create the procedure. This is very simple process, and then you apply the therapy, and then you wait certain period of time. Patient come back with the result, and then you conduct it again, or you stop with the therapy because it's finished. We don't prescribe medication. We don't change. We don't interfere with the patient life at all. This is not our business. Everybody choose and has right to choose whatever they want. And a very important thing is that we will not, interfere with the medical decisions. This is not our business. I will always align with that. I can educate patients. I can say, look, this therapy is proven to have this and that consequences.
Based on results, based on,
why don't you look at something else? Ask also integrative medical practitioners, holistic practitioners who have license for that to change the medication, introduce maybe some other methodologies, some other drugs that are maybe more useful for you, or do the further examination. Sometimes one examination is not enough. You need second opinion. You need maybe an integrative opinion. So this is where I'm standing when it gets to the protection of the patient.
Yeah, and speaking of protection, people would want to know, like, are there any potential risks or contraindications that they need to be aware of when doing these therapies? Because this is what, people want to know.
There are. This therapy looks benign, and it is benign. I cannot produce new disease. So there is no, people ask me, like, oh, how do you protect yourself? From what? I mean, there is no transference of disease like this. This is a very old, thinking, and it's good it actually exists, because what I think where it's coming from is a pandemic, actually. It's a pandemic. Before they couldn't explain that there is what it is. It's bacteria, virus, why people are dying like crazy. But we know that we die when we are in contact. So disease come to me. Yeah, it's true in the case of pandemic, but not in any other case. So I cannot give my diseases to the patient, nor the patient will give my disease just because we are doing the treatment. There is no such thing. And then on the other hand, how to say, this is benign treatment, but you have to be careful in some cases. You have to be careful, for example, with the mental diseases. We don't treat people who had kind of psychosis or psychotic episode. This is very hard to treat in groups. It's risky, and I don't like it. And there are better treatments actually for this, much better treatments. Also, but we can treat mental diseases if they are not causing the psychosis. And also we have to be careful, for example, with people who have transplanted organs. So if your body accepted the implant, for example, no problems, we can do the therapy. But if it's still in a sensitive period where the body is adapting, it's better not to do immune therapies, because immune system will be boosted. It can just reject. I can give you one story from Hong Kong. It was amazing. So there was a guy with renal dysfunction, both kidneys. They come for therapy. He had all the signs of kidney disease. He had other stuff, but I put I treated only that, so that there is no waste of the resources to other problems. So I did the therapy for him first day, second day. Mainly after 2 days, there is a immune response, stronger immune response. And the third day, they didn't come to the morning group. They come very late. So I asked what's happened, and then his wife told me, because he was not speaking English, that he couldn't sleep at all because of very strong pain. I was thinking that's common thing. When I asked where was the pain, and then showed me here, in front here, just a little bit below the colon. And I said, but kidneys are not there. I said, oh no, we forget to tell you, he is having a transplanted kidney there. I said, you have to tell me this. I can kill you. You have to tell me this, because you're taking immune suppressors, and I'm boosting the immune response, and of course it attacks the kidney, and that causes the inflammation, and this is where the pain is coming from. So I stop immediately with the treatment. And so you understand. So you have to know medicine. In this work, it's easy to move hands. Anybody can do that. You learn it. It's cool. It's beautiful and all that. But you have to know medicine. And because in energy treatment, it's all about the precision. This is why this methodology is the best in the world. It's precise. There is no subjectivity. It just, this disease had this procedure. This combination of disease in accordance with the patient's status has these procedures. And if you just follow that, later you start to understand that every disease can be translated to the procedure easily. If you just follow it, you will have fantastic result. And what is beautiful about it is that you don't have to be special. Anybody can do this.
No, anybody can do. And I think that's what was very, not to say attractive, but it's just universal that, anybody can learn it. You don't need to be someone special. You don't need to, feel energy, know about energy. It's something that can be learned and applied. And I think that's also the beauty. And anyone can do that for their friends, their family, the pets, and, even plants, to the extent of
anything that has a cell. Even you can treat bacteria in the Petri dish. You can treat blood samples in the Petri dish.
Yeah. So, on this path, would you want to share, like, what are some common conditions? And I think, in Module A, we get to learn how to treat over 70 different medical conditions.
Yeah.
Right. And if you want to share some of these lists of, what people will get to actually learn, that would be.
Yes, I can share. I just don't want to scare people. Yeah. So the thing is that there is much more conditions you can treat. So just be aware that anything that protects you from being sick is what the immune system can treat, which means anything, absolutely anything can be treated by your innate body system, to protective system, anything. And in medicine and science, we don't like that. This is not, nobody likes the magic bullet. I don't say that this is a magic bullet, but you can actually treat everything except the psychotic, the mental disease with the psychosis. But anything else you can treat. You can approach and you can treat, and you will have certain result. So when you look at the
thing about this, it's also complementary.
It's complementary. I never accept any patient who didn't visited a medical doctor, who don't have already some kind of diagnosis, but it must be medical diagnosis, because this is a modern therapy and we rely on the modern medical diagnostics.
Yeah.
I mean, they are changing. There is also, we know from the medical practice that the 30% of the patients die because of the misdiagnosed patients. So it's a common thing, but we are getting better. We don't have to jump all the time in the conclusion, medicine is so bad because of these statistics. No, it's not. We are slowly getting there. And actually in medicine, that's interesting, the diagnostics are becoming holistic. Now we have genetical testing, we have in functional medicine, we have these questionnaires. We are getting there. We will get there, but it's very slow.
Slowly integrating. It's kind of.
Yeah, we don't have enough cash for that. The political and economical system is not aligned with the well-being. We live for cash, not for the well-being. Once we turn the tide, it's going to be different, but it's going to take time. So when you look at these procedures is not all of it. These procedures are the most common conditions in the clinical setting, which means that we teach people how to think about therapy, not how to memorize the procedures, because there is a very simple logic behind what kind of procedure to apply in a certain case. And it's all about the energetics of the disease.
So we're talking about, when there's an inflammation or no inflammation, like you would do different things.
Differently for the same disease, because disease has a natural progress. So also there are seasonal changes. For example, Crohn's disease, it changes. You have inflammation, then it's reduced. And also the drugs can, contribute to that. You have to take all this into account, right? So that there is no collision. So if you look at all this, it's scary, I know, but it's so beautiful. And
it's reality too. It is
it's reality. This is what people are suffering from. You can't imagine how people can suffer from the very simple things. You don't have to bleed to death to suffer. You can have for example, here we are hypothyroidism. That can destroy your life completely. Hashimoto syndrome, it's completely can destroy your life. And outside, nothing, there is no any sign. You know what I mean? So all these conditions can be treated. Some conditions can be treated only with this therapy. Some conditions, for example, he will have scoliosis, kyphosis, lordosis, decompression, the spinal structure problems, right? Or spine degenerative diseases. Without the physiotherapy, without the manual medicine, without the McKenzie and other good physical treatments, therapeutic yoga, so on, you cannot do anything. I can repair the tissue, but then what? I didn't repair the posture. Posture can be done only by the exercises. So this is not, as I said, magic bullet. It's integrated in all other treatments. So we need each other. We all need each other. And as so, it's beautiful. Sinusitis, deviated septum, liver diseases, all this can be treated with very good results. And the most beautiful is when I have a result that I didn't expect. So I can mention something that's very common in Indonesia: diabetes. Yeah. Singaporeans that they have 30%, they have 50% more cases than anywhere in the world of diabetes. It's like an epidemic of diabetes. It's 11 to 12%. For the general population around the world who are having diabetes, it's 30% in Singapore. What causes it? Food, of course.
Diet,
yeah. So you have type 1, which is inherited, or it's actually congenital. So you actually acquire it when you are very young. It can be, we have many theories. I never had a reversal of this disease, but I can stabilize the disease. This is a big thing.
Yes. And it's a big deal.
It's a big deal, especially for the kids and their families. And then you have type 2, which is reversible 100%. A little bit diet, a little bit exercise, therapy, that's it. You reverse it. And you have borderline hypoglycemia, hyperglycemia, which are caused by some other conditions. And all this can be treated in a very nice way, in a very nice clinical setting, without much, narrative that you actually don't need at all. And as so, I hope this will become a part of the medical practice, just like physiotherapy.
Yeah, so I think that's what your aim, in the bigger picture. This is your goal, and this is your aim, is to integrate this into many aspects of health and well-being. Whether it's in hospitals, in physiotherapy, in massages, in sports medicine, all these things.
Yeah, we produced a little video here under the, let me just find it. Okay, so this is the module A. People can learn a little bit more. We can talk a little bit more if you want later, but I can just show a video that we produce so that people understand what it's a 2-minute, it's okay. Huh? Just for people to understand how you can and where you can apply it.
Yes.
Okay, so you can essentially apply it in a diversity of ways and places.
Yeah.
And I just want to explain why we this is very pop, it's very polished and it's very modern. The biggest problem for reception of these methodologies in the modern world is the perception that we inherited from the past times. This is a big, huge problem for us. People are coming with their own ideas, which are actually not their own, they just inherited from the past. And so, how to say, it's not beneficial really for the development of this kind of the energy healing generally. So I think personally, I know that maybe some people will not like this, but I have to say, what I know from 20 years of doing this is that we have to bring this to the people in a secular way. And we have to bring this to the people as a technology, as a medical technology, which can have profound effect on the development of the medical science. I know that it sounds like a very bold statement, but I think that the future of medicine is in energetics. All of it in the future will be energetic devices, which will literally do what we are doing now, just in a even more precise way, less harmful, in a such a way that you will have a device at home, big like this, and you will just click and we are talking about the tricorder or the from the Star Trek. This will come. I guarantee this will come.
Yeah. So with that, with all these different conditions, can you share maybe some success stories? Maybe just give the audience a guide of where they can read some stories. So because sometimes it's difficult to
find.
Really grasp. Yeah, no, or to really grasp, is this really true? Is it really that effective?
I know.
And
so there is sorry, please.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, and testimonials and sharing and real life cases and success stories, speak louder than words, so being able to see that.
I would like to show you my WhatsApp feed, but I cannot because there are the names. But every day I'm receiving results of distant therapy, which we didn't touch yet, and person and other therapists are sending all the time. Yes. It's not accidental. And we also did a research it was only, I think, 150 people. It's not much. But the results are telling us very clearly that there is a result beyond placebo. I don't say that placebo is bad. Actually, we should use placebo. This suggestion narrative is very helpful sometimes. So you just need to know how to use it so that you don't obstruct all other treatments, right? So I would say that here on the page, which is called testimonials, how else to call it? you have all sorts of how to say, around 150
and conditions, yes.
And also conditions, you can see all of it. For example, during the COVID, we were treating lots of people, but we didn't want it to publish because, it was very sensitive politically, and, it was not, we didn't want it to create more mess. So when you look at all this, today is a little bit slow. I don't know why. Today people don't like the long form. They don't like to read. And honestly, I think that the short form that we have now is so short. I mean, I'm talking about the social media. It's so short that you will get to one frame. And then is there any more? No. The next thing that is going to happen is that we will drop it. This is what social media is doing to themselves. They are cutting the branch they're sitting on. So I think that the Facebook is actually, no, not the Facebook, the YouTube is the best because they still have a long form. So I would say that give yourself a chance to read it. Yeah. Give yourself the chance to go through the website to understand the reality of all this. Because, how to say, if you don't go in depth, you can miss important things that can be very useful in daily life.
It's the finer details.
Yeah, and for the general, for the general understanding of the modern approach to medicine. So just to get back to the module A, I cannot open testimonials because they were adding this search field and it didn't work yesterday. It doesn't work today, but okay, it will work tomorrow. I hope so. So we have this 7-day course which you can learn it. It's on the module A page. The first day we have this theory introduction. Second day we have introduction to the fundamental of medical concepts and the basic techniques and the basic treatment, and how to conduct it with the exercises and everything. And then we go through the diseases, and it's all about the diseases. Disease that, disease this, and how to treat it. And we demonstrate, we talk about the anatomy and physiology of it, pathophysiology, and then what medicine is doing about it and how to incorporate this treatment. 4th day and 5th day is the same. It's all about that. And then you have, of course, how to combine it, a little bit about palliative care and hospice. This is very interesting part, and what are the ethics of the work. And then we have 2 days where the students are actually observing the real treatment. So they can also put the notes during the treatment, which we can communicate. And later we have Q&A where we can go in depth what they saw to give more insights, actually what we were doing and why we were doing it in that specific way.
So these therapy observations, they're done in 2 days, 2 consecutive days, and there are 2 sessions per day, hence the 4 treatments and the 4 therapy models.
Yes. Actually, we have. I'm sorry I didn't prepare all this. Actually, we can, during the module A, I always do the treatments because I think it's important for people to see the reality of it. If they don't see it, then you got nothing, right? So I don't know why it's so slow, but I think because there is some problem with the internet here. So I will not force it that we don't lose the connection. But just to mention that you can conduct the therapy in 2 different ways. You can conduct the therapy in 2 days. When you conduct double treatments, 1 in the morning, 1 afternoon, with a break of 3 to 4 hours, 5 is better. Mm-hmm. And then second day, you just repeat the same. I prefer 4-day therapy. I prefer that. It's better for everything, for therapists, for patients. It's better for business. It's better for the whole story. Simply is better suited for 4 days than the 2 days. But due to the circumstances, we will do it in Bali for 2 days.
Training, yes, yeah. Training purposes. Then
training purposes, yes, and also we will have real clients who will come as always with their ailments and treat it and so on. Also, you asked me like what is the process? I never explained why 4 days. It's not magical. I said it's to be able to have the best results in the most of the cases. It's optimum. So people say, why not do it 10 days? Let me explain. Do you do vaccination 10 days? No, you do it once. Why? Because once you trigger the immune response, there is no need to do anything else. The body will simply do its own business. So this is, in medicine with the drugs, you are targeting on a cascade of the immune responses or the life support. You cascade something very, in one of these cascades, you insert the certain chemical reaction, right? And then that spreads down. So where we trigger it as a top of the pyramid, and then the body chooses what it's going to do. For that reason, this is very interesting. Some people, they come, for example, with a cancer problem or cardiovascular disease, and they don't say anything else. And I do the treatment, and after 2 days, they have a bleeding of the hemorrhoids that they had 15 years ago. They said, what the hell is happening? I thought it's cured. No, it's not. It caused another useful, inflammation, although we didn't touch it. Why? Because the immune system will be, with this basic treatment, it's a general false flag to the immune system. Look, there is attacker, go there and do something, but go where? And this is when we have specific treatment, when we said go here and there, so that it doesn't go to any other place. But sometimes immune system can go to the unusual places where there is a damage that the patient even don't know it's subclinical, and then it triggers the reaction. That's amazing. This has nothing to do with the mind. And not to mention that you can have the same phenomena, which is actually distant therapy phenomena, in the group. You have people who just come in the group, they just sit there, they don't want therapy, and they have a result or a reaction. This is something to look at. This is very interesting scientifically.
Yes. So on the topic of medical wellness or medical tourism,
Okay.
and this is, like you said, it could be the future, and this is where we're getting at as well.
Yes.
Because, we're coming to Bali, and we are actually offering this Module A training here in Bali, July 22nd to the 28th. With July 26th and 27 is the group observation, where people from the public could come in and receive these treatments and therapies. So would you like to say something about this retreat that we are having, retreat training?
Yes, this is actually our return to Bali. We did Bali many times before COVID. Bali is a beautiful place. Bali is a natural place for healing. Bali is simply inviting you to do the healing. The culture and everything around is just amazing. I just love to be in Bali. So this time we decided to renew Bali, to restart. And we chose the Ubud as a location where many people are conducting all sorts of treatments and all sorts of healing. I think it's suitable because the Ubud is a little bit out of the big city atmosphere and hustle. I'm talking about Denpasar, Canggu, and so on. So, and the Ubud is a place where the climate is a little bit different. It's not that hot, so it's also suitable for the patients to come. And this particular place where we are doing the treatments, and the course, I can actually share it. All right, so to access the Bali event, you just open the schedule, and then you simply go down to okay, so here we go. So this is the booking page and the landing page. So here you have all the necessary information. Here is the location. So this is the place itself. It's beautiful, natural place surrounded by nature, in a very nice classical Bali style, which I really like. Natural materials. It's isolated, which is very important because you can then dedicate to the training. You have also options of the ice bath. You can option to do the activities in the morning like Qigong, or you can also you have a sauna. I mean, the Ubud is really offering a lot of things. Although our course is very how to call that? It slipped my mind. the course it's intensive. Yeah, the course is intensive. So I guess that people will want to dedicate to it and spend time around the place. So here are all the packages, and when people apply, they will talk to you, and you will give more information and directions. And
yes, correct. So at the moment we have a couple of options in terms of the course. Like, people can choose an all-inclusive package where accommodation and the course is provided, breakfast, or they can choose to come for the course only. And also with any previous Bioqr students, Module A and B, they have a reseat opportunity as well to come and, join us and,
to reseat,
to reseat, yes, and refresh and, experience it again.
I think it's very good for the overseas students and people who have interest, because the setting is just glorious, and so it's
Bali is the place where a lot of people come, to seek these alternate complementary modalities, and
and it changes. The Bali really has this special calming atmosphere, at least for me.
Yes.
So you feel more calm, more grounded, more easygoing, and it's good for learning. People are then, they leave all their troubles, outside of Bali, and they can dedicate to whatever
just
they come
from. Hustle bustle and just, come in and focus.
This is the booking form here. It's very easy. You just click here and you book, and you will get in direct contact with Stephanie. Yeah, also the therapy itself can be booked separately.
Mm-hmm.
This is the therapy. For the therapy, there is a separate booking. The students who come for the learning, for education, they automatically, of course, can because it's a part of the process, can observe the therapy. But for the therapy, they have to apply also as a patient. Of course, if they have some the conditions. I would suggest to everybody who is coming, don't come to test the therapy. That makes no any sense. If you have a condition, this is how you can test. Actually, you see the result. Otherwise, there is no need. But everybody is invited to observe. So if you want to be, if you're a researcher, if you have interest just to see what the hell is all this about, you are welcome to come and to observe and to see, the treatment in person, in live, to see the real cases and to enjoy it. Essentially, you can also benefit just by sitting there. So this is a little bit about Bali treatment, and we are full ready to start it. Yeah.
And what can people expect after? So post retreat training and also post group observation therapy.
Yeah, after that, of course, people, I would strongly suggest to treat as much people as possible. There is always a question, how can I attract, people with the conditions? Easy. You just say that you have, that you learn new methodology and that you need to practice, and people will be really happy to come for that. Don't tell them you will heal them or anything like this, because people don't like that. Just say I need to practice, and when they have a result, then they will understand. After that, we have a student forum where we answer all the questions in regard of the practice, methodology, science, medicine. There is around 500 books and scientific papers for people who like to read it. I think it's essential. Not many people actually like these days to read, but let's say it's on your disposal, so you can use it if you want.
So all the resources will be there for support.
Yeah, it will be all there. And also, if you need any kind of support, we have monthly meetings with the students. You can always join, or if you want a personal consultations, you can always book, and we can always do for you more. Some people will come just because they want to know more about bioenergetics generally. Some people will come because they are professionals, they want to integrate this. Some people will come because they want to do this exclusively. And also some people will come for their own, personal exploration. Why not? It's okay. Some people will come because they have a family member who needs this kind of therapy. And I have many students who are simply learn it because they want to work with the family, and it's successful there.
Yeah, it always starts with. I mean, it started myself. Like I was curious because of, that I want to, apply.
What it is. I really hope that how to say, that we will have opportunity also to work with medical practitioners and integrative therapists and therapists, all sorts. I'm also inviting all the people who are doing some kind of energy therapy to try to and then to consider maybe a different approach. To see the differences and then decide which path to pursue. It's interesting. It can be eye-opening. I had many therapists who change their perspective, and they actually start to pursue medical career because medicine is scary. When you look at the medical science, it's scary. It's hard to study it. I didn't study medicine. I'm self-taught. I was studying informatology phonetics in the end of the 80s when there was my interest for the artificial networks and all this that is now finally public and available. And after that, I was studying arts and production and film and so on. So, all this experience helped me to get to the point where I'm now. There is nothing wrong with studying one thing and then doing another thing if you are willing to learn.
Yeah.
You're willing to learn. Today's educational system, because of availability of information, is changing rapidly. And please be aware that what we are learning today, maybe tomorrow, that will not even exist as a profession. And so read every day, learn every day, try to gather as much as possible information, be open, but not too open. Look at the science, learn scientific method, don't lie to yourself, try to be critical to yourself first, try to be critical to others, don't try to harm anybody, but also don't let other people push on you beliefs which are simply not, they don't believe in a 21st century, right? So like it's a lot of work. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Right. I think on that note, it's a beautiful way to end our session. And I can't thank you enough for all these amazing insights that you have given us.
Thank you,
And
Steph.
yeah, we look forward to welcome you back to Bali.
Yeah, and see you in actually beginning of June. We have a
Yes, June 5th, we'll be having a panel talk as part of Speak Up Monday, but we will also be conducting group therapies during that week, which
yes,
will keep you posted of.
yes, yes.
So, yes, and we look forward to welcome any of you who are keen, curious to, about this methodology.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Stephanie. See you in 15, 20 days, something like this. Yeah, something like this. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.